Where were we at in the story here? Emios kaminiek egwagasipuitit. I think it was. What was the last word we worked on here? Nwapate nisipuitan. I think it was. Here it was, right here. Kitatoe. Oh, I don't have my thing going here. Tisqua. Screen brush. In ghost mode. There, it's working there. Okay, I can leave it like that. That's fine. Okay, right there. I think it was. So skinny. Skinigitik. Kitatoe so skinigitik. There we go. Oh, it's Sunday night, so we're going to pick up where we left off last week on this story. And we left off just, I think we left off on stanza number 5 here. Nuisisipuitan iteo so yeah, because we were talking about the difference between itoyo and iteo. One of them being itoyo, and someone just says something, itoyo, that one says it. But iteo is what we call transitive, meaning it involves someone else. And then I think we left off talking about, we saw that being that obviate, what they call the obviate. I try to find a balance. I was chatting with Neil Redcrow about this this week, about how if you get into the materials like we use this Matsunehiwi, or we use, where's that other one? Cree literacy. This chart from Ben Godden. We try not to use the linguistic terminology too much. The only thing is that if you are self-studying at all, the problem is that you're going to run into, like, if you want to get into the materials, or if you end up going to school, or just like, studying on your own, and you run into these materials, run into these, some of the terms and stuff like that. So I try to talk about them from that perspective, so that you're not, so that it's not just like learning another language, right? I always tell people, when I first started learning the language, how I was not prepared. I was not prepared to have to become a honorary linguist or something, just to figure out, just to get into some of this stuff in it, because it definitely feels that way sometimes. We'll let we're just getting fired up. Let's keep an eye on my comments there. Beat the way, tawao, beat the way. We're gonna pick up where we left off last week on this story. Maybe I'll just read up to where we were, because we left off on stanza number 5 here. So let's go back up. So this is aya so mitunao ke ga or ga. The way I'll hear this is when there's ke and ga at the same time. I don't usually hear the ke, meaning you or you all. I usually just hear the ga. They sort of just become ga. So kaya so mitunao, you will all. So that I guess the translation here being, you will pass them on to one another. Cree stories of the horse and buffalo. Donna, tansiwa utagawi pig squeayak, myron pesky minutawi giteaya, ikakwitsamayak, kawitamagoyak ay atsumun. Anhini so pamois munia sota, kagi tagotit, hegsanma, kiegwa. Kaya skaya sete ko yogi ni hiyo ako teigi hayatsik. Nihio sa gaigani. Ego te nistamegi opige hitoit. The translation for that being where they began to multiply, I guess, eh? Ego ke tato e sa pia ka ni tau gitawasis e wapa sut. He was fair-skinned, I guess. We learned that meant. Ego taigi wito pigimat. Wistasa. He was raised with his cousin there. Ke tato e sa uskanigitsik. How? Nuisipwe nuipamwapa tena ski. And then this is where we left off. Nuisipwe tan iteo sa. I'm gonna leave, he told him, apparently. I see a few comments. Let me just get caught up here. And then we'll pick up on stanza 6 and figure out what that means. Thought I saw a comment go by there. What does bannock mean? Bannock is like a type of bread. It just means bannock. It just means bannock. Anin, bonjour. Yeah, Caden. Wow, awesome that you're doing this. Yep, tapwe. Yes, it's good that you've come. So let's tie into the next one. Mioskaminiak. Egua kasipwetit. So this is interesting. We talked about the focus last time, right? Sometimes when you're reading stories or hearing stories or telling stories, it's hard to tell a story only ever talking about one person. I mean, I guess you could tell a story talking about maybe yourself, but when do we have stories? When would you tell a story where you didn't have more than one person involved? And so this story, the focus so far has been on Awasis. The Awasis is the one that's in focus in the story. And this is important because it changes the way that you use a word as to whether someone is sort of in focus or not. Because there are two, I'll say there are two third persons in Nehiuyu. And there's sort of the third person. You'll see it written like this, 3S. That's like the third person. And if that term is new to you, third person, that just means the other person. I'm the first person. That's going to be me. The first person is me / me. 2 is the second person. That's going to be you, okay? And then there's this third person, this other person. But Kanahuyan Manaya, when you speak the Cree language, there's also this other third person, and you'll see that sometimes marked with a 3 and a little, like a little apostrophe. The third person, I just call it the other third person. Okay. There are names for these in the like if you get into the linguistic stuff. This one they call proximate. I guess that means closer. And then obviate, they call that other one. So that just sort of means closer and further. That's all that means. Proximate is like closer and obviate is in further. Now, the reason I'm explaining this is when you read the stories or when you're hearing a story, okay, for instance, like last week, we looked at this word, iteo. Iteo means that person, meaning the third person, says to that other third person. That's what that means. They said to them. And it's important we understand who's in focus, because if we didn't understand who was the, I'll say proximate, and who was the obviate, we wouldn't know who was speaking to who. It's non-ambiguous in the Nihiuinik, in the Cree language. It is not ambiguous. It's clear who's speaking to who. So when we see this, we know specifically that the one young man who was a boy said it to his cousin, because his cousin is marked with that on the end. That's the part right there. That on the end of that wistasa, the cousin part, that's the part that marks who's the other third person. So the reason I'm saying all this or telling you all this is because this happens with weather terms as well, which is super interesting. So mioskamin is spring. Okay, mioskamin. The other word that we hear for this is what is it? Siguan. Mioskamin is the word that I learned for spring, but I hear this other word too, siguan. But if you look at this particular form, a mioskaminic, okay, it's not a mioskami, it's mioskaminic. So if we go look at that word, we'll just jump over to it. We want to hear mioskamin. It is springtime. We'll look at the verb mioskamin. And then we look, let me make that bigger. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. Oh, mioskamic, a mioskamic. So normally the conjunct meaning as it is spring or when it is spring would be like a mioskamic. But if you look at this here, you can see that they have, I know zero is kind of like, you just see this. I don't know why they use a zero. I guess it makes the most sense. It's not really the third person. It's sort of like nobody. But the reason this is important is because if you look at this one, it has that same little apostrophe there, right? You see that there? That little apostrophe? And it changes the word. So then it's not a mioskamic, it's a mioskaminic. It like pushes it out to that other position, I guess you could think of it that way. I bet a fluent speaker might describe that differently, but this is just sort of the way I understand it. So we have to say, because we're still talking about awasis, okay, that third person, awasis, when we mentioned that it was springtime, we have to say that, a mioskaminic. We wouldn't say a mioskamik egwagasipoite. That would be, it would probably sound funny, or you could say like, you know, it's ungrammatical. You would say a mioskaminic egwagasipoite. So when it was spring, well, the way I interpret this, when it was spring, he left, I guess. But the interpretation over here has probably got a little bit more nuance. It was in the early spring that he set off. This is really interesting because that interpretation, that, actually aligns really closely with sort of how I understand ga. So that kind of makes sense. It was early spring now when he left, I guess. I don't know. God, this is one of those ones where it's like, my brain kind of knows what that means and kind of knows how to use it sometimes. But there are contexts still where I hear ga, and I'm like, I don't fully understand how to say what it means, I guess. Sunshine Queen says, what is this site? Is it free? Yeah, so I'm just on Cree Literacy Network. So if we Google that here, Cree Literacy Network, and we're reading if you go up to the little, you can't see it, it's in the upper corner over here for me. And I'm going to go to, in the little menu, read and listen in Cree. Then I'm just going to pick on Atsamona, but there's also Atayokana, and then poetry and stuff. So Atsamona. And we're reading, the one we're reading is this one here, Cree Stories of the Horse and Buffalo. That's the one we're reading. So I'm just working on that story. And if you go into there, there's just a PDF on the page. So if you go down, Arden's done such a cool, like a wonderful job of putting this together. There's just this PDF, so this is what we're working on here. I've just got it zoomed in so y'all can see it okay. So, it was in the spring. I wonder if that's mioskamin means early spring. Yeah, so it is. That's what I thought it says here. It is good ground. Literally, it means it is good ground. That's sort of how my brain understood that. But what is a Siguan? Does that have a different Siguan, early spring? I wonder if those are just variations. Right here it says it's an alternative for mioskamin. So that's really interesting. I mean, there's different words for things, but sometimes there can be more in the word. So I'm just not as familiar with that one. How egwa nagateta momete is a sipuitate. So we got a couple of nagate tamuma. Haegwa. So then I guess you could say nagate tam. So we're still in that third person. We're still talking about the oasis who's now Oskinigu. Nagatetam. Nagatetam. It sounds like to take care of something. What does that mean? Let's go look it up. Nagateta is to look after it, to care for something. Yep, that makes sense. Nagateta momete a sipweitate. So that sipweitate, a sipweitate, we're still talking about that same person. So that's the third person form in what they call the conjunct, e-conjunct mode. So let me try and figure out, before I glance over at the English, and try and get my brain to figure out what they're saying here. So then he took care of something. He took care of it where he left a Mississippi. Okay. It sounds like the direction he was leaving. Let's see what it says. He paid careful attention to where he was going. Interesting. He paid attention to where. That makes sense. Nagate tamuma ite e Mississippi. That makes sense to me. Yeah, that makes sense. Uma ite is the way where it was that he was leaving, I guess. You could think of it that way. Yeah. Taishan says, sounds like run. Run is a pimpat. If it was running, it would be a pimpatat or sipuitat. You could say that too. Sipuitat, to leave running. Sipuipat. Sipuitat. Sipuipatat. I think it would be sipuipatat. Sipuipata. Yeah, sipuipatao. Okay, kay tatoe. Goti taxi pi. Oti thumb is to approach something. So again, this is a so suddenly or at some point in time, kay tatoe. I wonder why they... Sometimes whenever they're missing a letter in there, I'm like, is that ga, go, ga? It could be ga, could be ga. It wouldn't be gi, go, ke tatoe go tita. I would think it would be ga. He approached or came up to a river. Mi totawa ositauia. Mi tot. I don't know that word. What does that mean? Mi tot. A raft. Okay. Mi tot egua ositau. They're being real gentle to us here. They're not throwing any complicated verbs. Ositau. He made a raft. That one. So he made a raft. Egigoat sipuitat Esa uhi pisaganapisa. I don't know what that word is. We'll come back to it. Guayats. What's that mean? That preverb. Guayatse. Beforehand, advanced preparation, readiness. Already. Egi guayat sipuitat isa uhi pisaganapisa. Pisaganapisa. Don't know that. Pisaganapis. Let's go see what that is. Saganapis is a rawhide, a piece of a little rawhide thong or a little rope. Pisaganapis. Sepuitatisa. Sepuitateo. Sepuit. I don't know that word either. Sepuit sounds like. No, how was that again? Sepuitateo. Oops, wrong one. Sepuitateo. Nope. Sepuitatao. Leave with something. She takes something away or leaves with it. So it sounds a lot like to leave. Sepuiteo, sepuitatao. So now it's that one departs with it or leaves with it. Let's go check the English on that. Now he made a raft. He must have brought along some rawhide ropes, is what that says over there. So you know what's interesting about this, and this is where my brain's at in terms of my learner brain. So you see that gi in there, right there, gi. This part here, guayats, means already. That's a cool little bit there, guayats. This one here, so we understand gi is like in the past, right? Or like something that's finished, I guess, if you could think of it that way. But what's interesting about this context is when you see, or the way I understand this, when you see gi in the context of this story, it puts this, it puts this particular action, this particular verb, the gi part right here makes it in the past relative to this point in time. So he makes a raft. We're at the point in the story where he makes a raft. And then it says, so apparently he already had some rawhide ropes. He must, that's why it says sa. Apparently, he must have already brought with him or had departed with some rawhide ropes, I guess. So when you see that gi in the conjunct, in the e conjunct, that means in the past relative to, or the way I understand it, in the past relative to where we are in the story right now. Mitut owa usitau ye gigoat sepuit tat esohi pisaganapi sa egone ohi gochta kopitak. So he ties down omamitut, this raft, easoha. My keyboard's flipping back and forth here because I keep pushing that button. Oh, I got some so Taishan says Pisha gonna be his rope. Yeah, we do use the syllabics. Yeah, I don't want to say it's there's a resurgence of syllabics. So there's materials out there, and if you get the books, there's a lot of books that are printed in the syllabics and what we call SRO, so the standardized writing system. But then, like if you look at any of these books, most of Wolfart's stuff, right? I don't know if you could see that very well, but it's printed in syllabics in the beginning, same as like a lot of the stuff coming out of the U of R press. They'll put syllabics in there as well. Stop. I think there's two ways I would say stop. I think, what is it? Nagi or nagiu? It's to stop, to come to a stop. This is, the way I understand this is more like if you're in motion, like if you, nagi, like you're saying stop, or like, but that's like you're moving. But then you can also say puyo, which to me is more like stop doing something. So nagi is, to me, the way I understand that is more like if you were driving or if you were maybe running or something. And but if you were like doing something you weren't supposed to. Like your kids are fighting, you can say boyok, like stop. That's the two ways I would say that. Okay, so let's go back and have a look at this. So those ones. What's interesting is if we go back to that word sipuetao, sipuetao is oh yeah, so they are inanimate, so it's transitive. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. That uche, we learn this word uche when you learn like your introductions or whatnot, right? So you say, oh, which is like from, but depending on the context, it can also mean for or with or by. So in this context, this means, I understand this as with. So those ones referring back to the rawhide ropes. With, he tied it up with those. Dakopitam would be to tie it up. Let's look at that one. Dakopita. To tie something fast, tie it shut, tie it up, tie it off. And so we're looking at that one. We're looking at that third person conjunct, dakopita. There's that third person right there, dakopita, that one. If it's more than one third person, you'd say dakopita kik. There's that down there, so that's them. Dakopita mwak in the independent, or itakopita kik. Those ones tied it up. But in this case, we're just talking about one person. Itakopita. For whatever reason, just the sound of that M, takopitam, turns into an H in that particular form when you get into the conjunct, and then there's a little K sound. That K sound can be very soft, depending on the... they write it there, I think, just so you recognize what it is. But I've seen some elders or some fluent speakers write this like this, just like itakopita, like they just... Or sometimes they'll write it with an H on the end. But in lots of places you do hear that K. There was a question. How do you say what a beautiful morning, day or evening? So to say well, you could just say, I would say mil gisagao would be just like good day, mil gisagao. How come my keyboard's not keyboarding here? Tishkwa. Gisagao, mil gisagao. It is a good day. If you wanted to say it is a beautiful day, you could say I just learned a word for beautiful too. I would maybe say something like tagak nagwan. You could say tagak gisagao ma. It's a awesome day. Beautiful day. I'm trying to think of that word for beautiful. It's kind of like, I just learned this word. I just can't think of what it is. I saw it in a story we were reading. That's the one there, but this is katawasin. Katawasin. Yeah, this was in a story we read the other day. This is one of those words that I've probably heard a bunch of times, and just for whatever reason, I can't get it to stick in my brain. Katawasin. Katawasin. But I don't know if you'd say katawasinuma gisagao. I guess you could probably say that, like you'd probably be understood. But I would probably just say like, oh, tagak mil gisagao. No, it's like it's a good day. It's a good day. Wonder if they have that even in here. Mil gisagao. Yeah, it's a nice day, good weather. Something like that. Morning would be milgik sepayao. You can use that as a greeting. Like some people say that, like in English we say good morning. But this doesn't really mean it's more like it is a good morning. If you want to say have a good morning, which is very literal, you could say mio gig se ganse or mio gig se panse. I think you can say it that way. Pretty sure I asked Wayne about that. Mio gig se panse, I think you'd say. And then if it's evening, you could say mio tipskau. But I've never... I guess you could say that. The way I think of tipskau is... it's more like it's getting dark. It's not really... Otagasik is like evening, I guess. But otagasik isn't a verb is the problem. Otagasik is a particle, so you wouldn't say mio otagasik, I don't think. Otagasik. Yeah, so this is a particle. Yesterday or the previous evening. Let's just look up evening. There's another word for this too. Evening. Otagsin. So maybe you could say that. Mio otagosin, but I've never heard that. But just because I haven't heard it doesn't mean you couldn't say it. I've never heard anyone say that before. Maybe a fluent speaker here could tell us if you could say that. Mio otagosin. Tagaki otagosin. Something like that. Okay, back to our story. Let's double check, see if I missed any comments. I think we're doing okay. Okay, so we were talking about this one here. Go takopitak. So he tied it down with eogone. He tied it down with those rawhide ropes. Oh, mummy, thought this raft. He tied this raft down with those ropes. Asoaham. What does that mean? Asoaha. Asoaham. I forget what that word means. And then he crosses the river. Sorry, I had asked. So, your beautiful creations. You are beautiful. I like that. Says, sorry, I had asked if you can go back to word. Oh, sorry, I'm confused. Oh, can you go back to the Word document? Yeah, you betcha. Oh yeah, sorry, if you want to grab a screenshot, go ahead. Let me get zoomed. Let me put these on new lines here so you can get that in one screenshot. And I'll bold these up. Let's not use Mio Tipska. Let's use that one, Mio Otakosin. This one here is, again, I don't know that you would say that. I'm going to put a little question mark beside it because I've never actually heard it. But as a learner, I'll say grammatically it's correct. So go ahead, do you want a screenshot of that? I'll give you a couple more seconds here. Jacqueline says, yes, my grandma used to say that. Mio takusin, saying it's good evening. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, there you go. We have confirmation. So you could say that. Mio takusin. There you go. Mio takusin. Jacqueline, would you know how to say it is a beautiful evening? Is there because I don't know. See, the thing about this is beautiful creations is there's two parts to this, right? If we break this down. So if we look at this, the first part here is they call this part in the beginning, they call this a preverb right here. This one here. and it's got that, so it comes before the actual verb, the phrases, and then this is the verb, which is like an action. Whoops, verb. So the problem with the problem with that other word, gatawatasin, is it's also a verb. Gatawasisin, I think it was. Gatawasin. This is also a verb. So if you say that, and again, you could probably say that. Gatawasin. But then you can't use, I don't think you would use both of these, one of these verbs, and this is just sort of the way I understand the language. Right now, both of these verbs are what they call independent verbs. The verbs come in two types, right? And if you look at our story, right, generally speaking, there's only ever one independent verb in a sentence, okay? So, and sometimes none, but like, if we look up here, nagate tamoma, there's two verbs here. Only one of them is in the independent, because this verb is the verb that sort of sets the place, and like, this is sort of like who, what, and when, if you want to think of it that way. And then this other verb is like supplemental to that. So for me, when I look at this, it's like one of these needs to be in the conjunct, probably. But then again, it's like, I don't know if you'd say, I just don't know how you'd say it with this. I just don't know how you'd say it with this. Because it sounds, if you said, what would be the conjunct of this? Ikatawasi. Ikatawasik. So you could say like, maybe you could say, Ikatawasikuma. Like, I don't know if this makes sense. I don't know. I'd have to ask a fluent speaker. So don't take a screenshot of that one. And I don't know a preverb for beautiful, other than like mio. Mio, yeah. So I mean, mio probably still works because it would still mean beautiful, right? So mio gisagaw or something probably still works. Mio gisagaw technically means it's a good day. Maybe you'd emphasize it. You'd say tapwe mio gisagaw. You could say that. You're like saying it's truly a. To me, that means like it's truly a good day or it's truly a beautiful day. Mitni mio gisagaw. It's a really good day, really beautiful day. Okay, sidetracked here. Let me double check my comments. Jacqueline says, probably say it independently. I'm just not 100% confident, that's all. As soon as I hear a fluent speaker say something, then I have confidence in it. As soon as I hear a fluent speaker say something, then I'm like, okay, you can say it that way. Jacqueline says, it depends on what you were talking about. Yeah, yep, I think you're 100% right there. Depends on the context. Now that's what we're studying today is context. Okay, let's get back to our story here. Let's get into this a little bit more. We're learning a little bit of, we're breaking down some of this story. So let's read that last part again. When he, so at some point he approached a river. He came upon a river. He made a raft. That one. That one. Isa. Pisa kanapisa. Pisa kanapisa. These rawhide ropes apparently he had departed with. He had them prepared and departed with them. Those ones that we just talked about. He used those to sorry about that. To tie up that raft, and then he crossed the water. Nagis. I don't know this word. Metane hayat. That's just the way I hear that. So we talked about this word last time, ayaw. It can mean so many things, but in this context, it's like as he was there or when he was there. Nages. I don't know that word, so let's look this up. Nages. A ways a little bit later on for a brief moment. Oh, no, that's not even it. Oh, nanages. Probably the same as this. Nanages. Nagesis. Probably the same. Let's just keep going. Namagigwe sagal, there was no bush. Naisto ise pasquaik. So again, here's that. So you might know that word pasquao. Oh, I see there's more comments. I'll get right back to those. Naisto isa, there was just bush, apparently. And I don't know this one here. Weipatsayu. So what does it say over here? When he got a little further along, there was no more bush. There was nothing but prairie, rolling prairie. That's a cool word. Weipatsayu. So let's read that again. Nages mitni ayat. So when he got a little bit mitne, I generally understand that to be like really. Let's look it up because some of these words have lots of meanings. Metone. Very, really, intensively, fully. Indeed, truly, or surely. Quite. That nages meant like for a little bit, a little while, or further along. So the way I understand this is further, really further along, and then the a in this context, because this is at the beginning of this phrase, I understand that to mean when. So when he was further along, or when he was really on his way, I guess you could say it. The translation over here says when he got a little further along. When he got a little further along. Yeah, Cameron says mitane is emphasis. Yeah, that makes sense. The emphasis. Yep. Thank you for that. That makes sense. Metne ehayat. When he was a little further, when he was further along. Namagigwe sagao, there was no more bush. Namagigwe. Naisto is like just or only, I guess you could think of it that way. Naisto isa. This word here is pasquao. You remember how we said we were just talking about always. Yeah. You know what? Naisto is one of those words that are, it's like, look how many different contexts. This is all of the meanings that they say this word can have. Only, exclusively, always, all the time. Oh yeah, so it's not just, am I thinking just is tapia, isn't it? So I got that, these two words I'm still trying to figure out how to use. Tapia. Yeah, just simply. So I get these confused all the time. Nice though. I still don't know how to use this word correctly. like I only, exclusively, always. But like in what context would it mean instead of? Like that's the tricky thing about when you're trying to learn the Cree language, the verbs and the nouns are kind of the easy part. And I don't mean to say, like, I don't mean to minimize, because there's a lot of work in learning that vocabulary. But learning how to use particles correctly is like so challenging. It's so challenging because like something like nice though has so many contexts. It could mean, it just seems like, and if you don't understand them, then when you hear it, when I hear it, I'm like, now I don't know what they're talking about. There'll just be one little word in there. They'll just change the context and I'll miss it. Okay, so let's go back and see if we could sink some of this in. Nice though. Isa pasquaik. So apparently, so my brain wants to say only. Nice though, exclusively. There was exclusively prairie. A pasquaik. So this word is pasqual. This comes from pasqual. But again, because we're talking about this one, this one that's there, we have to push that verb that you would. So we wouldn't say a pasquag. We have to push it further. We have to say a pasquaik. That's why that yik is on the end there. And then this is a new word for us here. Wehpatsayu. I've never heard that word before. That's a cool word. Wehpatsayu. Gawap mate sa Pasqua mustuswa. So this is another excellent example of that. So we were just talking about, I'll finish the sentence. Gawap mate sa Pasqua mustuswa. Esa ohe egone. Pesisqua ohe wap meo. So what's interesting about this, there's three things happening in here that are interesting. And again, when I first, just to go back to this idea of that other person, right? This other person, they call it the obviative. I talk about this all the time because when I first started learning, and I first started in that Matsunihui, in that book from Solomon Rant, and then folks would say sometimes, "Oh, don't worry about that obviative; it's too hard. Don't learn that right now." And I sort of have the opposite opinion or approach, in that if you don't understand this, how this obviative works, I'm not saying you have to learn it this way, but once you get it, it's not actually that tricky. The whole idea being that this word here, gawapmat and wapmeo, those are the same word. So he saw a buffalo, pasqua mustuswa, and we have to put that wa on the end. Because if we said, we're talking about, the last time we encountered this person, it was Oasis, but we know he's in Oskinigu now. So we can say, Oskinigu gawapmate sa pasqua mustuswa. We know that the buffalo is the one that's being seen. He apparently saw a buffalo. Gawapmate sa pasqua mustuswa sa ohe egone besisqua. There's that wa again, because normally the animals would be besisquak, but because they're being seen by somebody, we need to know. If you just said wapmeo uskinigu besisquak, it would be unclear who was seeing who. So in this case, the pronoun for those animals changes from oge to ohe. Right? So Jacqueline was saying he was surprised to see. Oh, really interesting. Wah go squap sinyas. Okay. Go squap sine wap mat no what's gigo steo. So he got. I know what you're saying there. Let me think about this for a second. I'm still a language learner, so I gotta think about this for a minute, because I'm trying to. It's one of those things where it's like I know all those words. My learner brain is like, okay, why is a sa in there twice? He sees these animals. Wah wah. Gosquapsin. I don't know that word. Gosquapsin e wap mat nowatski gosteo. Something about being scared. He was scared. By comparison. So let's say go over here. It must have been the buffalo that he saw there. These large animals that he saw. Wah, wah, he was startled. Is that what that means? Gusquapsin, he was startled. There's a cool word. Gusquapsin. You know what we're going to do is we're going to, we'll read, what we're going to do is we're going to come back and read this story in a couple months. I like doing that because a word like this, gusquapsin, I probably heard that before, or there's this other word here too, wehpatsayu, where I would like to, does that come from wepatsao? Is that what that's from? Let's look that up. Zayu? No, neither of those is in there. That's okay. In order to remember these words, right, we have to hear them. And so this is why I believe in the power of stories. If we come back and we read this story a few more times, we would actually remember most of these words. And because we knew the story, the words we couldn't remember, we would get them from the context, hey? So let me read this one more time and then we'll go over it again. Okay, kawap matesa, pasqua mustu swaesa, ohe kone pisisco he wapmeo, wah wah kosqua pasin, e wap mat no watskigosteo. When he saw them, he was also a little afraid of them. Interesting. Jacqueline says, depends on the context on how the words are used. And you're 100% right. The thing is, as a learner, that's the hardest thing as a learner, because when you ask a fluent speaker, as a learner, when I ask a fluent speaker, hey, what does this word mean? Or like we talk about that. And I think you've said that a couple times now. It depends on the context. It depends on the context. In my experience as a learner, that's the hardest thing to learn, is the correct context to use a word the correct way. Because that's the hardest thing to teach, and again, I don't mean this in a negative way necessarily or anything like that. I don't mean this to offend anybody. But that's the answer we get, or the answer we use a lot, because it is so difficult to, if you know how to use the words, then you know how to use them. If you don't know how to use the words, then people have a difficult time explaining that sometimes. And then they'll say, well, it depends on the context. So that's the most difficult thing that I find learning, is the correct contexts to use things. That's why I like to read these stories. It's because it gives me an opportunity to look at those contexts. Tapskutsomaya, where it's like, when I first read this, kawap matesa, pasqua mustuswa esa, I'm like, esa is in there twice. Like we're really emphasizing the, apparently, apparently he saw these, it must have been, and now when I go over here and I get what the translation, it must have been the buffalo that he saw. It's like, oh, I see. The first esa seems like it's kind of emphasizing kawapmat, and then the second esa seems like it's kind of emphasizing pasqua mustus, right? So it's for me, it's my we can't. These things are hard to explain. Even in English, these things are hard to explain. Like if I said, like, how do you explain two or four? How do you use four correctly? Or how do you use, there's lots of words that if you know how to use it, you know how to use it. But if you don't, how do you explain it to somebody? And the only way we're going to get that is by listening to stories and right, hearing the language over and over and over again. So yeah, appreciate all of your comments. I always love it when fluent speakers come along, or folks who understand the language and can chip in, because it helps me to fill in the gaps. So yeah, kanaskum tanaw out that way. Okay, let's keep going. How? Nagato keo. It's another word I don't know. Egwa. Gao egwa. Ga segiuet. So, what's interesting about this, we were talking about those two positions. So we've got psiskwa, who we know is like pasqua mustuswa, Remember that wa is on the end because that is that other position. That other position. So this one, I don't know this word, but I'm guessing nagato geo. Jacqueline says protects or like watching over them. I'm going to look it up because that just helps me sometimes. Gato geo. Takes notice, observes, notices, cares, attends, listens, is respectful. Like again, look at all these context and all the different ways you could use this word, depending on the context, hey? Super interesting. So in this case, though, it's talking about, if we didn't say Pasquamustus wa, in this case, we know that it's the boy or the oskinigu that is being, we'll say, watching or being respectful of the buffalo, right? And then this one here, gasegiwe yit, that yit on the end means that this is the buffalo that are going home or returning to wherever they were. This ase, I forget what that means. Let's look that up. Ase is a preverb, returning. They're going back to where they were. Because if we said gasegi wait, that would be the oskinigu. But in this case, it's talking about the buffalo. So we have to say gasegi wait. And what's interesting here, again, there's some interesting phrasing happening here. Because you don't think about you don't think about the way that you use words when you speak, hey? You don't think about the way that you say some specific words, like, or the way that we phrase things. And I can't think of a good example off the top of my head. But in this one, again, I'm in that place where it's like, nagato keo egwa, kawi egwa. We use egwa in there twice. It's like there must be a reason why, like these egwas are informing the context or the phrasing in such a way. So over here it says, so then he watched carefully to see where they went as they returned home. Kasegiwit. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that sentence broke my brain a little bit. That's okay. We'll move on. There's that obviate form again. Taguagin is the fall. So it was really into fall, I guess you'd say. When Tagoteo, he arrived there, or he arrived there. He walked. Sure enough, when it got to be late fall, he walked back home over there. Yeah. So there's a Atsimo. We talked about this last week. Was it last week? I think we talked about this stamo. So you see that stamo. In this case, so that atsimo is just, if you said atsimo to somebody, you're telling them like, tell us a story or something like that. But that stamo, when you put that in there, that changes that to mean to someone else or for someone else, eh? Stamo. So he told the story to his cousin. Guask. Guaskegwa, nawaiwe in. Miuskam gokwi pats. Ne we sipwe tan. We ne. Here's an interesting word. Esa teo, he said to him apparently. So we'll properly, I'm gonna wawein, is that to prepare? Waweyu? Let's look that one up. Waweyu. Yeah, I'm gonna get properly prepared, I guess. Miuskamgok in the spring. We puts new. Early in the spring I'm gonna leave, I guess. And then this one here. This is interesting. This part here, Witseu, which is like if you come with me, I guess. I'm not quite sure how the we part. Let's go see what the English says. Okay, so he says, come with me if you want. Interesting. So he told his cousin the story. So I am going to get everything ready. As soon as it is spring, I'm going to set out. Come with me if you want, he must have told him. Which is interesting. It's interesting how you can say so much in so little, and like it's so... Because that's what, when I read the English, I'm like, yeah, that's what it says, but there's a couple of ways that I didn't realize you could phrase things. But that interpretation, if you want to come with me, if you intend to come with me, I guess, yeah, that, we'd say if you intend to come with me. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So I'll go over this again. He told his cousin the story. I'm gonna prepare. I just understand this word is prepare. I guess get ready makes sense. I'm gonna get ready. In the spring, we puts. Did that say early in the spring? As soon as it is spring. Which makes me wonder, is that just like a phrasing thing? Like, could you say, if you said, we puts nuisipuitan, if I was going to say, as soon as it is spring, the way I would say that is, Mayo miuskamge. But that's just, again, my learner understanding of that. It's interesting to learn the different ways that you can phrase something like that. Yeah. A couple of comments here. Let me go back a little bit. Creature says, do any of my fellow Crees know what's the translation for never forgotten? If it's a person, I guess you'd say namuigats. What's that? To forget somebody is that wanihiu or is that to lose somebody? Forget someone. Forget wanihiu, wanitum. Oh, I got to do my 90-minute puzzle. Tisqua. Go. Yeah, that's to lose somebody. I don't know how you say forget somebody. I don't know if there's a way to... Wanike totoyo. So I guess you could say, namawigats wanike totoao. Yeah, we could say it that way, I guess. But I don't know. That's probably not the right way to say that. It's one of those ones where creature where it's just like in the traditional context, people wouldn't be forgotten, so it doesn't seem like something that you would say commonly, but I don't know. Fluent speaker might be able to tell us. The goodness says, what's a Nikoduski? I don't know. Ronnie Sue, do you do this every Sunday? Yes. Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific. BG says efficient. Brenda Miasin. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, we covered this part. So how quaskigwa Wawayin. It's a tongue twister. Wawayin. Miuskam go kui pats nui sipuitan. We ne. He said to him, if you intend to come with me. That we, there to me, that means like going to or intend to, if you mean to come with me. And the thing that's interesting about this is, that actually I wanted to talk about this. That comes from will, which means that one goes with somebody, goes along with somebody. You can say, like if you want to say, hey, come with me, you can say, win. Right, go down here, all the way to the bottom. You come with me, win, come with me. Win. If you're saying that to a bunch of people, all y'all come with me, you can say, all y'all come with me. Yeah, you could say stam. That's one way you could say that. You're being very specific though. Stam is kind of like come here. But if I'm going to go somewhere and I want you to come with me, I can say, hey, come with me. If you want to say come with us, you can say, nan, come with us. But that one, I would spell that a tiny bit different, but that's okay. It comes from the conjunct, and that's if you look at this chart, you see that third column over here on some of these, right? This third column, that means if or when, sort of like in the future. In the future. So this one specifically is this one. Sorry, it's actually this one here. This one here. So the conjunct, as you come with me or when you come with me, which is sort of like as you come with me. But if you take this form, and that's what's great about understanding these, if you know all of these conjunct ones here, as you come with me, as you come with us, as what is that one going to be? 2P, 2S. Yeah, as y'all come with me, as y'all come with us. If you just put an I on the end and scrap the E at the beginning, then you get that last column for free. I know that doesn't make sense, but like what I'm trying to say is this column here and this column here, the only difference is this I and you drop the E. So that becomes this You just take this whole thing, get rid of the E at the beginning and put I on the end. And then now it means if you come with me. So you just remember that one little bit. So this part here all stayed the same. This part here stayed the same. And just the as you come with me, or if you just drop that and add I on the end, if you come with me. So you kind of just get like another word for free just by remembering that one little bit. And then that we part on the beginning, if you intend to come with me, if you mean to come with me, esatu. Again, that iteo means that one said to that other one. Okay, next sentence. Where are we at? 7 o'clock. We're making good time tonight, actually, because we started on stanza number 5. We're on like number 14 here. We're cruising. Brenda says, Gautsu or stum? Gautsu. What does that mean? Gautsu. I feel like I know that word, but I don't quite know. what it means. Tickle in the back of my brain. Anyway, we'll just keep going. Tapuegua. Wawe. This is a tongue twister of a word for me. Wawe-yi-wak. Wawe-yi-wak. So let's examine that. I struggle with this exact combination of letters. Wa, we, you, wak. It's a tongue twister. Wawe-yi-wak. Wawe-yi-wak. I would love to hear a fluent speaker say this out loud. Because I struggle with this. This exact word is so challenging to me. Wawe-yi-wak. Wawe-yi-wak. It's probably what it sounds like. Tapweg wawe-yi-wak. Just pretend I'm saying it right. Egwa. There's that word again, nagato keo. That one to like watch someone closely or maybe like respectfully, carefully, I guess. Kigwe oma tapti tatsik. So let's break this down. So tapo egwa wawe-yi-wak. They tapo is like truly. Egwa in this context kind of means like then. And so over here it says, and so it was then. They got ready. So that makes sense. Tapo egwa. So then they got ready. They truly got ready then. I guess you could say it that way. Egwa nagato keo. Nagato keo. Kigwe o matapsi tatsik. They were careful about, I guess, what it was they were going to be using. What does the translation say? He was careful gathering all they would need. What they were going to be using, I guess, though it's the way my brain understands that. How tapuegua gaspuetitsik. So then it, and so it was, I guess you could say, that they left. When they left Gawe Guaegote, they went back to that place, I guess. Pe guaneg egweg se totamak mitot ositawak. So pe guan, the same, I guess. Egweg se, the same as he Peguan, and then the same, they did the same thing, I guess you would say it that way. They ositao, they made a raft. Ositawak, they did, that was them. It was just one of them. Ositao would be one of them. Ositawak, they did. They made a raft. What does it say over here? And so it was then they got ready. He was careful gathering all they would need. And so it was that they said as there was. And so it was. I guess that's how they interpret that. Tapuegua. And so it was. And so it was. That they set out to go back over there again. Yeah, that makes sense. And again, as they had before, they made a raft. Exe can mean a lot of things. Like when you finish something, you hear somebody say exit, like that's it. That's the way I understand that word, is like literally that's it. But I guess in the right context, it can mean like exise, in that way. I was just going to say in that way. So, thus, in that way, and so, there, that's it, that's all, well, enough, later, that's it, that's the end. That's another one of those words where it's like there's 9 different ways. In all of those contexts, it kind of means the same thing. But I think as learners, as I do anyway, I get surprised sometimes when I hear a word used in a new context. And I'm like, oh, how are you using that word? Like in my brain kind of wants to be like, I know what that means. But then kind of it's like, I didn't know you could use it that way. So when I see this, pe Peguanegua. So then in the same way they did that, they made a raft. I guess that's the way my brain interprets that. I don't know this word. Wa se skeyemi skeyemiwa. Egwa wischaso higa wapamayit. Okay, we're gonna have to dig into this. First of all, se skeyemiwa. So this is the whatever this word is, it has to do with the cousin. We've got that yuwa on the end. That's going to be talking about that person. That's in that, again, that kind of obviate. Se skeyemiwa. Meyuwa. Se skeyemeo. Let's look that up. See if we could find it. Se skeyemeo. He was wary of something. Something that he saw. Ka wap mayit. And again, there's that yit again. That means it was the cousin that's seeing it. So he's wary of something. So then he was wary of something that he saw. Wia gagi anwe tagut. I know by this one here that igut. It's kind of meaning the to him. Anwehtagot, but I don't know that word. Wiagagi anwehtagot o magagi atsimustawat. Nui nipa hawa nistas mahte sateo. Again, okay, so my brain knows most of those words, but let's look this up. Anwehtoeo. I think that's going to be anwehtoeo. Anwehtoeo. So he got rejected. Anwehtoeo. So let's dig into that one. That anwehtagut, that agut. What happens is, let's dig into this. So again, we're talking about two people, right? So if we get into this, the dictionary, what we're looking at is, in the dictionary, they use a for. Sometimes you'll see that. Again, if we go back into my stuff here, usually you will see this. You will see the third person, and then you'll see that other third person. Sometimes you will see it as third person and the fourth person. I don't know why they don't just call it the fourth person, but they don't. They call it the third person obviate for whatever reason. So then the arrow you can see normally goes this way, but obviously the interaction could go the other way, okay? So when I see that tagut, that tells me that interaction's going the other way. So gagi anwe tagutoma, gagi atsumostawat. So it has something to do with the cousin rejecting the oskinigu, something that he told him in that story. We'll go check the anwehtagut. Nui nipahaw, I'm going to kill this one. So I'm definitely confused because I think I know what's going on, but I'm not confident enough to translate this. So let's go over and have a look at what this says. Well, his cousin was afraid of those animals when he saw them. His cousin was the one who hadn't believed his story before. Oh, I see. Hadn't believed his story before. But he said to Hill, I'm going to kill it, my cousin. You'll see. That's interesting. I didn't get any of that out of there. This is why I read stories. Because I'm like, okay, now that I know what that means, now that I know what the fluent speaker says that means, I'll go back and read that again and see if I can get my brain to be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense now. Wa se ske me wa egwawischasa uhiga wapmayet. Wiagagi anweta goto magagi atsmustawat. Niwinipahawa nischas matesa tuil. Interesting. I'll just let that sink in. You know what happens? You know what's really interesting about language learning? This doesn't make sense to me right now. And so I'll tell this to you right now. As a language learner, I'm coming on, it's 2025. So I'm fully 6 years into just over 6 years into my language learning journey, I think. Coming up on 6.5, I guess. And I'll tell you what, this doesn't fully make sense to me now when I read this, but it doesn't matter. Because I read this, and then I went over and I saw what it meant, and then I went back and read it again, and I can feel that feeling in my brain where I'm like, my brain is full and I don't quite understand what I'm reading. But I know from experience, I'll come back and read this in 6 months, and it'll make more sense. Or maybe even like a month or 2 months or next week or the next time we read this story. We'll do this again. So if you're here tonight on this live, or if you've been following along on this story, we'll come back and we'll read this story again in a couple months. And I guarantee you, even like anyone who's following along, we will all understand a little bit more. Because that's just the way it works. That's just the way the brain works. So we'll just let our brains do the work and just absorb the story, even though it feels like my brain is really full right now. We've done quite a bit. We've learned a lot of words today, but we'll keep going a little bit more. Tapwe gua mitane tagak tagak ioweik. Don't know that word. Umanamun. Don't know that word. Umanamun oce. Ga natatatse mustawat. Egwa. Mitane kisuwag. Somebody gets mad. How? E pasigo quas kotiit. Somebody jumps up. Tapsiwa, and they run away. Probably the cousin, it's sounding like. Atewe pa go tsiniwa nipa heo. Probably not the cousin that runs. Probably the animals that run off. Tapwego mitni tagaki ioik. Iuweo. Let's look that up. I don't know that word. Iuweo. Iuweo. Nope, I don't see it. Every once in a while you run into that. Ioik. Okay, I'm going to read it one more time, then we'll go read the English. Tapwego mitni tagaki ioik. Namuin. I don't know that one either. Namuin. No, I don't see that one either. That's okay. Namumochi. Ganat tats mustawat. Egwa. Mittenigisuag. How a pasugogwaskutiet. Tapsiwa. Atewe pagotsiniwa nipahel. Yeah, so this has something to do with the story that he told him. This is him. Somebody's getting mad. Pasugo is getting up, and this is the jumping up and running away. We pagotsiniwa. I don't know this word. We pagotsin. It is flung down. It collapses. Okay, interesting. And nipaheo, somebody killed somebody. Okay, let's go over and read it. And so it was then. A really nice wind happened to be blowing. Oh, interesting. A tagaki ioik. That's an interesting word. Ioik. A tagaki ioik. A really nice wind happened to be blowing. He crawled towards the animals against the wind. Wow, I don't. Umanamunotsiga natitatsimustawat. Natitatsimu. Jiskwa. Na te ta da mo sto. Nope, it's not even in there. Weird. See, I'm not getting that. I don't know this word. Not that's most of what. Egwa mitnigiswag. When he was really close, the animal jumped and ran off. It began to collapse. He had killed it. Are there any fluid speakers left in here? Or in my brain is like, well, I mean, jumps up and run off. The animals, that part makes. Oh, gisuwag. Oh no, gisuwag doesn't mean mad. Gisuasu is mad. Gisuwag. Sounds like it made him mad. Tisqua. No, that'd be gisuahik. Gisuwag. Is that really close? What does that mean? Gisuwag. Nearby. Yeah. Okay, close by. Mitini gisuwag. Okay, so he got really close. My brain is full. Okay, but this word, I don't know this word here. Umanam winotse. Ganatatats mostawat. Yeah, that's, I don't know that word. But it says over here, he crawled towards the animals against the wind. The part that threw me off is it looks like the word atsimo is in there, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily the same thing. And namuin we didn't find. Okay, you know what? We're just going to keep going. Get hung up on words we can't find. It's okay. Okay, yep, we'll just keep going. Next. That's how it always works, too, with me. The closer you get to the end of the story, the more complicated the words get. The animal jumped up and ran off. It began to collapse, and he killed it. Interesting. Huh. How egse me stamuit gotagohi. Pahkone wak egwa. E pasa kik wiasoma. How egse me stamuit. Me stamuit gotagohi. Me stamu. What's that mean? Me stamu. No, another word. Egse me stamuit gotagohi. Pahkone wak. Egwa. Ipasake kwiasoma. Something about. Okay, let's go read it. Well then, as the other animals ran away, the cousins skinned the one he had killed, and they made dry meat. Oh, they dried it. Pasam is to ipasake. They dried it. That makes sense. They dried the meat. Ipasake kuma. Pahkone wak pahkoneo. To skin, I guess. Those are good words. He skinned something. Pahkoneo. Me stamuit. Egse me stamuit kotaga. As all the other animals ran away. The word for animal would be pisisku or pisiskuak. So this would be the word. And we haven't run into that. You'll find that in stories lots. Pisiskuak would be generally like animals. You'll find that in stories, right? Like we haven't actually mentioned the animals for a long time, but it's implied. Because we were talking about, if we go all the way back up here, we're talking about the buffalo, Pasqua mustuswa, and then Pisiskua. So they've sort of been the subject. These Oskiniguak are the ones that are kind of in focus, and then Pisiskua are sort of like the subject of the story here. So when we get down here, even though they haven't mentioned the animals, this has been about the animals all along, right? Again, e pasagogas quascotiet. Again, that's the animals that got up. Quascotiet. Tapsiua, that's the animals. Waipago again, that's the buffalo. Or no, this is, yeah, it must be. Waipago it fell over or collapsed or whatever. Yeah. So it's kind of implied, and then down here as well. Mistamuyit, they ran away, I guess. Gotagaohe. That's that thing that happens when you have that person in the third person or in the third plural, right? So in this one, in the third, it'd be bisisku, would be animal. But then if it was plural, oh, my shift key stopped working. Just what's going on here. The third persons plural, then it'd be bisiskuwak, animals. But then when it's in the, what they call that obviate, that other third person, it doesn't matter if it's one or more. It's going to be bisiskuwa. This could be, and again, this could be animal or animals in that other position, that further position in the story. Right, so the skiniguak are in focus at this point. So then when we say Emestamo yit, that yit tells us that it's talking about the animals. And, oh, that was what I was talking about. Gotagao he. So here, if we said another animal here, we'd say gotak, because we're talking about one. And here we'd say gotagak, because this is technically what they call animate and animate. But this other position here, we treat it as an inanimate, so we say gotaga. It's just the way it is. It's just the way the language is. Gotaga. So we say gotaga ohe. And again, back here, this one we say awa. And these ones here, let me put that below because I know that's getting, we say awa pisisku oge. I think it's that long o, oge. Oge. Yeah, it's long o. Oge pisiskuak. Oge. Let me put that up here. Awapisisku. This animal, awapisisku. Oge pisiskuak. These animals, because they're animate. But when it ends up in this other third person, we use ohe. Ohe pisiskuwa. And again, it could be one or more. It's implied that there's more than one. So that's where we see that there. Gotagohe. These other animals, kotaga, other ones, ran away, I guess. This is that word we couldn't find. Bahkoneowak, this is the skiniguak. They skinned them, I guess. E pasahkik, they dried the meat. Oma. And the oma, I guess there's probably just emphasis. Pasahkik we asoma. It's just saying like, in fact, they dried that meat in fact. That's the way my brain understands that. All right, 7:30. We'll go for a little bit more. Did I miss any comments? Tante otse. Siniwatse was skaigan. Otsinia. Yeah. Magai, what's up, skok? We can me what's. Yeah. Otse nasot West Cologne siga take. Almost taguan. This one animal's head, I guess. Egwa manatsi tao mayogo. Ewi giwait tat. Somebody was gonna take it home, I guess. That comes from giwait tao. I'm assuming that's what that means. We ran into a very similar giwait tao. Whoops, there's an A in there. Takes something home. Very common to have that extra little ut. We saw that sipwait tao. We saw that earlier when he took something with him. Giwait tao, now he's taking something home. This is going to be a unwait tat. We saw this word a minute ago. This gitta. This is super common to see this. There's actually 3 ways So there's a form called the infinitive. It starts with ta. The way we learn this is ta. If you think of like Solomon Rat's books, they teach ta. So if you say like ta tsimoyan, this is like to tell a story, but this is like me, for me to tell a story. You can't just use this word on its own. But there's other ways. Sometimes some areas they say ga. Ga tsimoyan. This is still technically what they call the infinitive. And then another way that you'll see this is gita. Is another way. It means the same thing. And even sometimes you can see gika. I've seen that as well. They all mean the same thing. They're just different variations of the same, what they call that infinitive form. There's another super fancy word for this that I won't try to explain because it just means like it's not happening now. It's like for something to happen. So this can mean like to. It can mean should. What else can that mean? To and should, basically. It sort of means like for it to happen, it should happen, to happen, something like that. Hard to explain. Makes more sense in context. So that anwe tat, anwe tat, I already forget what that means. Anwe tao. Oh yeah. Rejects. But this one's anwe tam. That HT at the end. The person doubts. To doubt something. Anwe tat sikaisk. Because kagi sinago siet uhe. Okay, let me get back here. Manatsi tao, ego manatsi tao ego. So manatsi tao is like to respect something. Yeah, is that what that means? Manatsi tao. Oh, careful of something. Treats it with respect. So mas so this animal head egwa. Manatsi tao mayogo. He's respectful of this. Ewigiwit tat. He's going to take it home. He intends to take it home. Ewigiwit tat. Kita anwait tat. To, oh geez, this is the part where my translations fall apart. My understanding falls apart a little bit here. Let's see if I can get through this. So this is the animal again, the way it looked, I guess. Kagi. Because of the way it looked, they were going to. Well, let's go look at the translation here. Oh, I see. People would not. The animal's head they saved to take home, for the people at home would not believe him. Oh, I get it. Would not believe them about how this animal looked. Oh, I misinterpreted this completely. That's not the word. Is it anwe? Let's look that up. Anwe deo. No, anwe tao. Anwe toeo. Okay, I get it. So what this word is, there's a lot in here. Let's break this down. Let's get into this, because this is actually a. We'll just do this. We'll do the conjunct. Ah, my keyboard. Come on. This one. Anwe dat. Okay. So I mistakenly. This is why sometimes the spelling is so important. There's a long A here. See that long A? Because this word here, even though they're going to sound almost exactly the same, is going to sound almost the same as this one with a short A. Anwe tat and eanwe tat. They are going to sound so similar, but these words mean different things. Okay? Because this one comes from this word, anwetoyo. Okay, and this one comes from anwetam. And these mean different, they mean sort of the same thing, but different things. So anwetoyo is going to be that person rejects someone. And then this other one would be like that one rejects something, I'm guessing. Anwetam. Yeah, doubts something or rejects something. I'll say doubts. Doubts them. And doubts it. So largely the same, but different. But if you look at these, look how close these are. The only difference between this one and this one is that long A right there. E anwetat. Because this one here, what it means is somebody, actually we'll do it this way. Somebody doubts them. You'll see this sometimes. They call that ex-actor. And let me just double check that I've got the right one. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. Anwetoyo. We go in here and we look for 4 to 3. No, X. There it is right there. This one here. X to third person. This just means somebody. This just means somebody. Somebody. They were doubted. Eanweta. There it is right there. That's what I missed, that long A. So that means, so anwetoyo means somebody specific doubts them. Eanwetat is going to mean they are doubted. Or something like that. So it's like, let me explain this a little bit more. I'll take a word like, I did a TikTok on this a while ago. So that ex-actor is just like someone, unspecific. They call it unspecified actor, or sometimes in English, I guess you could think of it as like kind of like passive voice, if that makes sense. It's not, it's they call it unspecified or unspecified actor. But if you think of it this way, if I say my grandma loves me, that would be nisagihik. Nope. Come on, keyboard. Nisagihik nukum. My grandma loves me. Nisagihik nukum. Okay. But if I want to say, so that's this one here. Nisagihik nukum. That's me, and that's my grandma. Okay. My grandma loves me. This is the form here. Nisagihik nukum. My grandma loves me. But if I want to say I am loved, like we're not being specific, okay, there's a way you can say that. Sagihikoin just means I am loved, and it's me again, but it's not specific who's doing it. Nisagihikoin. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. Nisagihikoin. Nisagi, there's an I in there, sorry. Nisagihikoin. I am loved. So that's that same idea. It's like unspecific. When you see that X, that's what that means. Anyway, that's what this one is here. Eanwetat. They are doubted. So then the story, they were going to be doubted. They were going to doubt him. They were going to doubt them because of the way this animal looked. Right? They would not believe them about how this animal looked. So let's read that one more time. Okay. So they were careful with this this head. Eogo is just like a pointer back to this one. They were going to take it. He was going to take it home. They were going to be, nobody was going to believe them because of the way, because of the way this animal looked, I guess, see? Okay, let's keep going. I think we're getting close here, eh? Oh, no, there's a ways to go. Probably be working on this story next week. Okay. Yeah, okay, here we are. Metene go egok. E teipu ate tik. Ego ne o he se puetawak ka keokwa. Oh, no. Se puetatawak. They left with it. Ka keokwa. Pegiwe wakegwa. So, metene egwa, so they egok e teipu ate tik. Teipu ate tik. I don't know this word. Teipuateo. Teipuateo. Let's look that up. Teipuateo. Nope, it's not even there. Teipuatetik. Egoni ohe. Sipwe. So these ones they were gonna leave. They left with them. The dry meat kahkeokwa. Pegiwe wakegwa, and they came home. They left for home, I guess. What's that word mean? They packed up all the dry meat they could and took it with them and headed for home. I guess that means they packed it up. Teipuatetik. Teipua. Yeah, I don't know that word. That's okay. They went home. They came home. So they got home. Again, these are plural, right? So if you just said pegiweo, you're just talking about one person. But because it's got that ak on the end, then we know we're talking about them. They went home, egwa. Kinways. Nuti tawak wea e misagitiet. Nuti tawak. Nuti taw. What does that mean again? I forget. Nuti taw. Yeah, I was gonna say. So again, here's another word that has a lot of meanings in different contexts, eh? Pursue something, work on something, make an effort over something, take time, struggle with it, accomplish it, fight for something. So they, for a long time, they worked on it, I guess, or struggled. We misagitia because it was really big, I guess. Okay, yeah, so misagitiet, I guess that'd be the kahkeokwa. It must have been like a large, amount of dry meat. Mitane it started to really get into fall. It began to sounds like snow. I don't know that word. Sounds kind of like something to do with snow, maybe. Light flurries, piwesipun. Matchpa piwespuniek tagotewak. It was really into the fall, and it began to have flurries when they arrived. I guess you would say. What does it say? They went home. It took them a long time because it was a big animal. Yeah, okay. It was a big animal they were packing. It was late fall, and there were light flurries when they arrived on foot. You hear that word, tagoteo. We often use that word today to mean like someone just like shows up, like, tagoteo. But the way I understand, or the way I was taught that word specifically, is what they mention here in this story. Tagoteo, to arrive on foot. To arrive walking, tagoteo. Like pimoteo, tagoteo. If you just want to say arrive, the way I learned that was tagosin. But now we'd use that word tagoteo, I hear it more generally to just mean arrive, which is fine. Like language evolves. I just wanted to mention that. Tagoteo. Somebody will say that sometimes and I'll be like, oh, you were walking? And they're like, no. I've arrived. Oh, okay. No tao. Tinagatamwak uma. Mistagwanuma. No tao. I don't know that word. No tao. Short of. Minus, less, or short of. Tinagatamwak. It sounds like they left behind the head. But why ate? That's another one of those ones where it's like ate can mean so many things depending on the context. On the way, I guess. On the way, they'd left the head behind, I guess. They'd left the head behind. They left the head a short distance away, I guess. Interesting. No tawat atinagatamwak uman mistagwanuma. See, and again, there's two omas in here, so to me, the way I understand this, nagatamwak uma, this to me just sort of emphasizes the fact that they left behind. And then this one is just mistagwanuma, sort of emphasizes the head, I guess. Just like emphasis, I guess. Okay, we'll do one more and then we'll call it good because my brain, holy cow. Tsimuak, they told stories. Tsimuak is one of those ones where it can mean different things. Tsimu. Tell a story, tell the news, give an account, make a report, inform, narrate, tell a story. And that they call that a reduplication. Kind of means like over and over. Tsimuak. Eogo mai peta tsikwias ka keokohe. Wah, emits tsik I sinuak. Wikistamwak, pitos ispagwan. So they told, again and again, they told stories, I guess, or told the story probably about like the hunt. Eogo mai peta tsikwias. This story, about the meat that they brought, I guess. My interpretation is lacking. This is just sort of kakeo kwao here. Wah, meats tsik I seen so the people ate. Wikistamwak. They liked the taste of that. Pitos ispogan. It tasted different. It tasted different. Let's go check the translation. Again and again, they told the story. They brought all the meat, all the dried meat. Wow, when the people tried it, they liked its taste. It tasted different. Okay, I said we do one more, but we'll actually do one more. How Mr. Guanegua ka natakik natam. That word, we recognize this is what they call a VTI, but I forget what natam. Natam is like, natam. Is that to fetch something? Natam. Yeah, to fetch it. Yeah. Mr. Guanegoga natakik, so they went to get the head. Wapataha tsik I sinua. They showed it. They brought it and showed it as they brought it to as they showed it, or when they showed it to the people. Wapataha tsik. Wapataha tsik I sinua. Koskwa pisaniwa they were. We looked at that word, koskwapisin. Koskwapisin was it startled? What's it say over here? Amazed. So now they retrieved the head and brought it to show the people. They were amazed. So there's that again. Again, I'm just going to keep talking about this over and over and over again. You couldn't say pe wapataha tsik aisinu, or aisinuak wouldn't make sense, because it wouldn't be clear who was showing the head to who. And same thing here. So there's agreement between this word, koskwapsiniwa, aisinua. There's agreement between these. So we know that this word applies to these because of that wa. There's agreement there. And this word here, epe wapatahatsik, comes from wapataheo, where that person shows it to those, other person or those people. Wapatahatsik. Let's look that one up. Wapa tam is to see something. Wapataheo is to show something to someone. Wapataheo, that one shows something to someone else. Wapatahatsik. Kusquapisniwa. I think we ran into that. Okay, so we're at 23. I'm going to go back and find that other one. Was it the same word that we ran into? Yeah, there's kusquapsin. Okay, so up here, yeah, we said startled. It said startled up here. Kusquapsin. Let's look that one up too. Bisin. Kusquapsin. Startled, surprised. Okay. Oh, I'm going to stop there tonight. Just about 8 o'clock. I got started a tiny bit early so we could get into the story. Okay, I got some comments. Let me get caught up. Sorry, I missed the comments because I get reading and I'm not paying attention to my phone. Tisqua, I'll turn my camera around. We'll visit for the last few minutes. Tisqua. I know I flip camera. I gotta find the button every time. So, Brenda, do you go to Orange Hub College to teach Moya? I don't teach. My sister used to go there, and I've been there a couple times visiting, but I don't teach. We're just studying. We're just studying collectively. Shanizzle showed up. That's Shanice. Yeah. Thanks for all of the likes. I appreciate it. Everybody who came out. Brenda says enjoyed. Miyasan. Nimiwete ni miwetaman. I like that you like it. Yeah, we're just going to go for a few minutes. Where's everybody from tonight? Not you, Shanice. I know where you're from. I guess Pinega and Stotoyan. If you don't know me, Aaron Sigason. Saniwatsi was Kagan Otinia Gayate, Treaty 6 territory. Nigipiwigan. Ego tamina asni a miskua chi was Kagan, Nigipiwigan an ego taya maga wasap skook. Niwigan an me what's West Cologne Sigatek. Ota Katiskaya Kisi tao maya giskano mato and Niwikimagan, Niwitso Tapsamaga Naya. Just on Thursday, Gagi Neo Gisagag a mats a gisi giskano magos at a gicha giskano mato gamgok at the university there. I don't know how to say graduate. Yeah. Hegway it'll go say I got Nipe ats pitsanan ute ginote giskano mago soon wikamagan o big squewan seals in silchen sigatek egwa mayo igisitat mayoga gisitat is samak atoske got the giskano ma the giskano hamagit. As soon as she was done her school, they put her to work teaching. I'd win anyway. Shanice. I only leg gristle for dry meat. Kakilko, I'm still waiting. Yeah. Kapits na pape hun. Wonder how you say waiting for it. Behin, can you say that? Beham. Moya. Behtam. Behtam sounds like listening. Behtao is to listen. Behtam, no, to hear it. Nepehtan. Nepapehtan. No, that's not it either. That's to hear something. No, Behtan. Nepapehtan. I'm waiting for it. Nepapehtan kakilkwa. It's a bet. I'm gonna get destroyed. Yeah, we're telling stories about kakilkwa. It's making me hungry. Still got a book waiting at the house for you, Shanice. You got to stop by there and get your truck fixed yet, or what? There's nobody there though. Don't go there now. My mother-in-laws. They just came out here for grad. I should be home in a couple days. Okay. Go get that book. It's waiting for you. I'll send you the address. Oh no. Wimia son anma. Oh, Jacqueline. Nimit nalaya. Nanaskum tin e pe tago sini ananuts. Mia sineogo. Mia sini tago sini anaya. I hope you can come join us again. I appreciate all of your input. I always enjoy that. Getting perspectives, even if it's just on TikTok, for folks to chime in on different understandings of words or the way you say things, and just your support. I appreciate when fluent speakers come by. Have Google Slides. Kista Brenda, kanaskum tin. Thanks for coming by. Coming up on... I was going to say, yeah, I do this every Sunday if you're around. Sunday at because we're in BC. Right now, I get started at about 6 p.m. Pacific, so 7 Edmonton. I have no idea what time it is in Saskatchewan. I think it's 7 o'clock in Saskatchewan as well, because it's the same as Alberta, right? Does Alberta change in Saskatchewan, doesn't? I don't remember how that works. Oh, I appreciate that. I'd love to see the slides. I'll see if I can find you after the... it's 9 o'clock? Yeah, okay, so it's the same in Saskatchewan, and I'll figure that out one of these days. But then if we go into the winter, then Saskatchewan stays the same and Alberta falls back. Is that how that works? I think so, eh? Anyway. All right, a couple more minutes just in case there's any more last questions. Oh, hey, don't forget there's another conversational Cree groups fired up. If you're in the Calgary area on Wednesday at the Blackfoot Diner at 5:30 in Calgary. Wednesdays moving forward, there are conversational Cree group fired up. And tell all your friends if you're in the area. Next time I'm in Calgary, I'm going to make sure I'm there on a Wednesday so I can come and hang out. And it looked beautiful. I got pictures. It looked pretty nice. I have to figure out... I'm going to try and get one going here. It's just like, as soon as I moved here, I was like, I'm going to get a conversational Cree group going in Kelowna, and I'm just scared to start it because I, especially summertime gets busy. Like, we're already planning for ceremony in June and July, and we're probably going to be in Edmonton for like maybe a month, or at least a couple, like we'll be in Edmonton for a bit, so then I'll probably in the fall, when we get back and things settle down in the fall, I'll probably fire up conversational group out here too. Because hey, Mananto Edwin. Kimaga. Summer gets busy, eh? That's just like, yeah, summer gets busy. Folks are doing powwow, ceremony season fires up. And then folks normally travel and do all that stuff anyway, so. And us, we just get busy in the summer. Or we try to. We try to get back to Alberta and hang out with folks back home. Those are. Try to get some time back. Oh yeah, miyasan an maya bakwe someone. Where's the Sundance at? In June, we're going to be in, we got fasting camp out at Hinton in June. I don't know if we're going to get to Sundance this year. And then there's Medewin in July. We'll go out to the same place out in Hinton. Samson Sundance next weekend. Oh, I would go if I could. My wife's teaching until June 27th. She agreed as soon as she was done school. She was, I think she's teaching 2 or 3 classes right now. Just like, you know what's the most amazing thing? Edward says, Kisi, goose, or coats. Coats or cotes? I don't know how to say that. The most beautiful thing, my wife does peer support. She's been doing it for a while as like a TA for these classes or whatever, because she's like, and now she's teaching, I think, some of the first years or whatever. But anyway, I just overheard because she was sitting in her peer support at the end of a class or something like that, and there was this young language learner was just telling her how much she loved her class and how much she wished that she was her teacher and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna cry. That just makes it so worth it. It's just like to hear all these young people be like, yeah, you're basically just, she's like, yeah, you're telling her she's her favorite teacher. I'm just like, that's so amazing. Soto down south. Are you in Saskatchewan, Edward? I think you told me where you're from before. Soto down south. I gotta look this up now so I know where you're at. I'm sure you told me this before, just my brain. It's limited information retention sometimes. So yeah, you're basically on the Manitoba border. Okay. That's a ways away. I'd love to just come out and I got invited to, you must be fairly close to Red Earth, eh? Or relatively close. I got invited out there a while ago. I need to make a trip to Saskatchewan and come out and spend just like a month. I'd love to come out in Saskatchewan in July and just like float around, hit a few different ceremonies, visit some of my mentors, visit some relatives. Come back through one of these days. I'd like to go out to Willow Bunch and hit the museum up out there. And see if I can find the plot of land where my grandma was born. I think my brother knows where all that stuff is, but we're not chatting too much these days. But, and then same too, there's ceremony happening all over Alberta, but we're just never quite in town at the right time. So anyway, we'll figure it out. It'll be good. All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. I'm going to go have some supper in a minute. If there's any last comments or questions before we wrap up tonight, I'll be back up on again Sunday. And we'll finish the rest of that story. How much we got left? We're on stanza 23. And there's way more. It goes to 62. So we will not be finishing next week. I think we're only halfway through the story. It's been a good story so far, though. Okay, yep. What's this? Yeah. Minagi Tom, Edward. Thanks for stopping in. Kakukyo, Alkutum Scott now, wow. Kanaskum Tina, wow, Mina. Kakyu Gapi, Tagosini, Kanutska. Anutska Utagosi, I think you could say. It's not quite Tipscow yet. It's not dark out here. It's probably just about, well, no, it wouldn't be dark in Alberta either, would it? So we're going to wrap it up there tonight. We'll be back on Sunday. Pick up the rest of our story. Ahau, gisitano egua. Muestas.